Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This is Explaining the Unexplainable, and I'm your host, Mercedes Lucke Benedict. And we usually have our co host here with us, Bishop Joshua Sparks, but he is not able to make it tonight. We apologize ahead of time to our wonderful guest, Lee Hampel. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to the conversation and explaining the unexplainable. Man, that's a big task, but we'll give it a try. We'll give it a try.
Yeah, I mean it's because you were on my other show, just the Mercedes Lucky Benedict show, and
Yeah.
I was so happy when you were on that show. I think it was like 2 years ago, like this month. So it's really neat that you're back on this new program, and I really wish you could have met Bishop Joshua, but hopefully you'll come back on again.
Sure,
You
anytime.
guys would love, he'd love talking to you. He's had a rough couple of weeks. He had COVID, and
Oh,
with all the snow piled up and high at his house right now, he's just, I think he's just had a rough couple of
and
weeks, honestly.
where's his
They
location?
are in Kentucky. He's
Okay.
in Kentucky. So I last I heard they had, like the high snow. And plus he's still not feeling good. So
I'm
I
sorry.
said it's okay if you're not on tonight. I know you wanted to be here, but
Oh yeah.
I wanted to just kind of share a little bit. I found out about you from the Beast of Bray Road. Still one of my favorite documentaries. Your part is my favorite.
Oh,
Everything you do
thank
in
you.
that show is my favorite. And so, but you have a whole list of all of these things that you are a part of. So we've got the Paranormal Declassified was 2020. Then you
Yeah.
got Expedition X 2021. You're on with Phantoms and Monsters with Lon. So he's like a friend of ours,
Hmm.
and that was on his podcast. So then you've also were on a show called a movie called Beyond the Kettle, which I think sounds
Yep.
very interesting. And then you were originally a math teacher, so now you're a retired math teacher, and probably you had no idea this was going to happen to you. All of this adventure.
No, 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 no. This is as far away from what I thought I would be doing in my retirement as possible. We we don't, we think we control our destiny, our goal, our future, but we don't. Do we have free will? Sort certain ways, other ways, we're presented uh, concepts, and do we endorse them? Do we adhere to them and then use them, or do we discard them? And that's kind of our choice. But when this was presented to me in 2013, I said, okay, this is I purchased the farm in 2007 in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, and nobody said anything to me about a beast of Bray Road or a werewolf or till cheese, and till 2000. And I I farmed there. I was being farmed by in the 35 acres I have there, baling hay, making hay for horse stable, horse training academy and borders that we have here in Illinois. And then 2013 is the first time I heard of the Beast of Bray Road. If you want me to talk about that, or
Oh yeah,
it's
I mean,
it's
it's
an
just
inter it's
it's
an
so
interesting.
fascinating.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I'm a math teacher, computer science teacher. I was chemistry. I was science, and I was content in my little world of science, and explaining the unexplainable through science. I mean, science and mathematics explains, the majority of the universe. I thought until this paranormal, supernatural concepts appeared on my property. But in September 2013, I cut hay. And when you cut hay, you got to wait for 2 or 3 days for the hay to dry. And then you bale the hay, and then you store it in your barn. And I I cut the hay, and then I was ready to bale it. It was on a Sunday that I was going to bale the hay, and I called. I had some guys helping me, throughout the year, and I called them and I said, we're going to bale hay Sunday. Can you come up and help me from Illinois, from my where I live in Illinois? And they said, no, 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 no. Now, even back then, 2013, the Bears were playing the Packers, and I'm a basketball fan. That I don't follow football as much, nearly very little, in fact. I go, whoa, so you guys can't help it? Oh, no, 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 we can't help. Well, then I had two gentlemen from Elkhorn who had been helping me. So I called them and I said, can you guys help me bale hay Sunday? They go, no, no, the Bears are playing the Packers at noon. We go, geez. I go, whoa. So I, so I go, okay, I'll go up and bale the hay instead of putting it on the wagon and putting it in the barn. I'll just drop it on the ground, and it was supposed to rain the next day. But if it's in the bales, uh, the small bales of hay, it doesn't really cause it to mold if it gets like one rain on it. But if it's laying on the ground and then you bale it and it's wet, then of course it will mold, and it's not usable. So I was going to my barn, or my hayfield, and I was going by my neighbors, and I saw two of my neighbors standing out in their driveway, and I pulled in. I said, "What are you guys doing today?" They go, "Nothing. We're just hanging out." And I said, "Well, aren't you watching the Bears play the Packers?" And no, no, that's our wives. Our wives, they're all crazy about that. No, I said, "Hey, you want to come down and help me bale hay? I got about 600 bales to just get on the wagons. I can pull it in my barn, and so it doesn't get wet." "Yeah, yeah, we'll come down, Lee." So they came down. We baled the hay. We got done about 4 o'clock, and they wanted. I said, "What do you guys want?" And they said, "Oh, just get us a case of Coors." Okay, so we're in Wisconsin.
That was easy.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yes, that was good. So we were standing down at the end of my barn looking at my hayfield about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And one of them said to me at that time, he said, Lee, the werewolf lives back on your property. And now well, I mean, that's like telling me, I don't know. I can't even evaluate what that, sentence meant to me. It was
I
like,
know. I mean, who would know? I mean,
yeah, I go, what are you talking about? He goes, well, it's called the Beast of Bray Road, and people say it lives back on your property. And I go, you're so full of it. Your eyes are brown. But I mean, I go, what? What? He goes, yeah. Then he starts telling me about all the neighbors that had seen it. So and so saw it on Bray Road eating a raccoon, and so saw it in his barn. So and so ran across the road. Uh, one guy's wife and his mother-in-law had seen it in 2010 on Bow. It's not all on Bray Road. There's Bowers Road, there's Hospital Road. There's an area there, probably 5 square miles where it's been seen the most. And his wife had seen it. They crossed the road in 2010 in front of her car, and her mother was in the car, and they saw it across the road, 7 foot tall, walking on two legs. And I go, what? You know, and Mercedes, if 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 you would have bet me in 2013 that in 2026 I'm going to be telling you there is a 7 foot tall, three shoulders 3.5 feet wide dog man walking around on my property, you would have my pickup truck and my dog, my chainsaw, I mean my tractor, because I would say, oh, I will never be saying that, but I am saying that. I've seen it 3 times. I have overwhelming evidence of it, through tracks and uh, um, pictures, and I've had 1 to 5 game cameras out for the last 12 years. Well, almost 13 years in September. And yes, there is a 7 foot dog man walking around in my hayfield.
wow. and I mean, it's just incredible. So, but with some of the footage I've seen, the video footage, where um, you were out there, and then you could almost see like something in the film, but like it wasn't there, and then and you could smell, but it wasn't there. It's like it was there, but it wasn't there. It's some of that footage is just phenomenal too. Like it's almost like extraterrestrial portal, moving through portals. Lee, we have interviewed so many people here, and there's so many different opinions about this subject. But I mean, I always bring up your story because it's just so you have left the cameras out all these years. You have caught so much real evidence. You've been in all these shows talking about it. I mean, your evidence is phenomenal. What do you do with it now? What's happened in the last 2 years?
Well, I mean, I have so much. The activity is still ongoing. I mean, I have over 100,000 pictures on my computer, and most of them are paranormal activity, from lights and orbs and mist and figures and the shadow figures. I mean, it's still ongoing. I'm still doing experiments. I'm still doing repeatable experiments. I'm still, of course, I have 4 cameras out right now, going through the SD cards, and there's so many electronic interferences out there. I had one in August. I had one camera that took 30,000 pictures in 3 weeks. Uh, all of them would probably 95% would have been considered what we call a false trigger, where a game camera that I use has to have heat and motion. And I've called the game camera people, Moultrie and Bushnell and Stealth and all of them, SkyPoint, and I say, what causes this camera to trigger? And they said it has to be heat and motion. Now your Ring camera or your cameras that you have, near your homes, those are only motion cameras.
Mm.
But game cameras are heat and motion because they don't want the picture being taken if a branch is moving. They want the picture to be taken if there's a heat and motion, an animal, that is crossed in front of the camera and triggers the camera. So it's heat and motion. And that camera took 30,000 pictures and of no heat and motion. And that happens all the time. I'll get 1,000, false triggers. I'll call Moultrie and I'll say, I got 1,000 false triggers, and they'll say, oh, maybe a branch was there and the sun was shining on it. I go, well, this particular camera, the one I'm calling to you about now, took 1,000 pictures. I have it pointing at a 60-degree angle towards the sky. There's absolutely no trees. There's absolutely no grass. There's nothing. It's pointing at a 60-degree angle. And I said, it has lights in it, has some orbs in it. They go, what? It shouldn't take pictures unless there's heat and motion. And I say, well, there's not heat and motion. It's pointing 60-degree angle towards the sky. Well, there's got to be heat and motion. All of our cameras are set for heat and motion. Well, then what's triggering the camera? What is creating this electronic interference? That's not an explainable right now. Today, I cannot explain that concept. If they're telling me their cameras are heat and motion, which they are. And I've taken my cameras that have taken these false triggers and taken them 50 miles away to my brother's house and other people's home, put them there for 3-4 weeks, and they don't take any false triggers.
Wow. So that's phenomenal in itself, because that just proves there's something going on. And so, and when it does capture something out of that, has there been anything unusual in the last year or two that has really stood out to you, that's been unique?
Oh, I mean, yeah, yes. Oh, yeah. There's lights and lights and orbs and portals. I have a some very good pictures of portals. Um, I have a lot of pictures of light shafts. I have pictures of dark mist, black mist, and white mist. This is a mist that comes. Um, that's a cloaking mist, and I I put out what some of my experiments was roadkill deer from 2013 to 2016, and I put out 20 roadkill deer. Uh, that in Wisconsin, when if there was a roadkill deer, you could call and Madison, Wisconsin, and they'd give you a number, and then you could pick that deer up, and then it was your deer. 2016, they stopped that in the state because of a disease called chronic wasting disease. But I put out 20 deer, and these deer are picked up and they're or moved or mutilated. The front quarters are taken off, or their eyes and tongue are taken out. And instead of the camera taking a picture, it's this white mist or a black mist that cloaks what is there. I've been in front of the camera 3 or 4 times. I have proof. I've been right in front of that camera, and you can't see me because there's this mist there, and it's a bright, clear day. It's a bright, clear day, and so it creates this cloaking mist, which I get often on my cameras.
So you were actually in the camera when that mist was there and it cloaked you.
Oh, absolute proof. Um, yeah, I can't send you any pictures, right? I mean, we don't
I
have any.
not on this one, but I remember that. I thought that's what I was remembering, that you and that sweet lady,
Linda Godfrey.
Linda Godfrey, and I
Hmm.
remember, and then it was like covering you guys.
Well,
So
she was not in a picture. I was in the picture. I was going up because the smell was there. There's this horrible smell that is comes also, and it gets in your nose. It's a only way I can explain the smell 4 or 5, 6 times, a number of times. Um, it's a dog urine, skunk urine that's been in
yeah,
the sun for about 3 days, and it's just a horrible smell. And this one particular time, Linda was with me, and we drove out in my field, and I said, "Let's go out and check a deer that I have out there and see if the deer is still there." And we got out of my truck, and that smell was there, and she had never smelled that before, Linda Godfrey. And I said, well, I'll go up and check the deer to see if it's a deer, but I knew it wasn't. This was in November. It was cold, and it's not. That's not a deer or a meat smell or a rotten meat smell or anything like that. It's totally different. So I walked up to that deer, and then we took out the SD card, and I said, no, the deer doesn't smell. I took out the SD card, and half of my body was gone, and it was a bright, clear day, and half of my body was
yeah.
totally gone, totally cloaked.
So they were right there with you.
Oh, absolutely. And I have a gentleman. He contacted me from Chicago, and he was a cameraman in Hollywood. Now he works in Chicago, and he said, send me some of your pictures, and I'll help explain them more for you. So I send him some pictures of light shafts and orbs, and he sent back. He said, "Well, I don't want, at that time that was Photoshop. Now it gets to be AI, but that was in like 2013, 2014, 2015." He said, "I don't want pictures that have been photoshopped." I said, "Check them. Check them. They're not photoshopped." And he sent back, and he goes, "They're not photoshopped." He said, and then when I sent him the one, the mist where I'm half gone, half my body is gone, and it's a bright, clear day, and Lynn and I could not see any mist. I sent that to him. He goes, "There's no explanation for this." He said, "We could not create this in Hollywood without being computer generated." He said that there's no way. You'd have to have a smoke machine. You'd have to do this, do this. And he said that is those pictures are just unbelievable, out of this world.
It's amazing. And so just the fact that he confirmed that, and analyzed it, because I'm sure there's all kinds of people that are like, oh, yeah, sure, right. But no, I mean, but the fact is like, that I think the fact that you were the math teacher, I mean, and the science background, that's why you were the perfect person to be there and to do all of
Mhm.
this, to be able to really take that on. I mean, it's like 13 years, right? So
Yes,
far.
13 years of total dedication and recording. I have a log. I have like 100,000 pictures on my computer. I have albums of hardcover, hard copy pictures, albums of everything, and a log. And you know, I mean, you know, Mercedes. I mean, Einstein proved there was black holes by mathematics. 50 years before we ever found a black hole. And science moves slowly. It doesn't. It's linear. It keeps moving, but it doesn't move very quickly. And math leads science. Math will say there's this is there, and then science has to come along and eventually develop a way to detect it. It took 50 years for us to be able to have instruments that would detect a black hole. So the 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 concepts that I'm working with are not right now. Physics can't explain them. I took many physics classes also, and physics can't explain them. And and maybe 50 years from now, though, so scientists will look back and say, well, Lee Hampel was doing his experiments, and he has the data, he has the information, he has the pictures, and he has this. Maybe then we'll understand that there are multi-universes, that mathematics now says there are multi-universes, but we have no way to detect another universe. I mean, we're in a three-dimensional, 3D, length, width, and height universe. Time um, could be considered a fourth dimension, but right now we call our universe a three-dimensional universe. Well, if there's a three-dimensional universe that was built by whatever, I mean, by Big Bang or God or a superior force bigger than that. Um, it's a three. There's a 3D universe. It's huge. I mean, it's 64 billion light years across, I think, or so far. But the the mathematics says there are other universes, multi universes, parallel universes, but we have no way to detect them. But I have portals. I have light coming through um, circles, or and I have pictures of a portal, you know, um, that appear to go into another universe, and that those are just not right now not explainable. I'd love to explain the unexplainable, but some of those, I mean, they're not explainable right now. How
Were
can
those
go
were
ahead?
those all taken with the camera that was pointed at the 60-degree angle, or were there other ones?
They're every camera. That camera took a lot of very interesting pictures. It took light shafts that stopped and started. They were terminated, and they were, began. Well, a light travels what, 286,000 miles per second. My little game camera can't stop light, but I have many pictures of light being terminated, or it's a source of light, and right in the middle of my frame. Well, that that is, to me, is going into another universe, because it just terminates, it just stops. And there's no, I mean, there's no big beam there. There's no big, you'd have to have a big flashlight or a big beam of light to do that, and it'd have to be present right there in my field, and it's not. So those light shafts that I have thousands of pictures of light shafts and orbs, moving orbs, and they have to be, in my mind, coming from another universe in my hayfield, And you know, people talk about a thinner veil or something of that degree, but I have proof that these lights are terminated in 10 feet off the ground in my hayfield. And that, and my cameras can't do that. They have a camera at MIT that costs like, I don't know, millions of dollars, and that can stop light. But my little Moultrie game camera can't stop light. But yet here is a cylinder of light that is terminated. You know, that's
But
that.
it just kind of like just stops, like it's
Oh,
going. Yeah.
oh, absolutely. Yep, just stop. Hundreds and hundreds of pictures of light shafts like that. And going back to the cameraman, I would send him these pictures of these light shafts. And I have daytime one where I have a light shaft coming down. And many times, most of the time, my cameras are set. If it gets triggered, it'll take 3 pictures in a second. It gets triggered, it goes boom, 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 like that. 3 pictures in a second. And I have this one daytime picture, and here's a light shaft coming down. One, move, two, move, three. That light shaft is moving approximately 15 feet in 1 second. And and as far as I can tell on the ground, and I've tried to measure that. And I sent this picture to the cameraman. He said, Lee, he goes, this is laser. This is at least a 2 foot laser because there's no cone shape to the light shaft. The light shaft is totally parallel sides,
Hmm.
and it's a tube. It's not flat. It's a tube. He said that we have nothing that he ever would know of that we could have a laser to that size, approximately 2 foot, and it went up through the clouds. It was, you know, a half mile through the clouds, or maybe more, and it maintained these parallel sides. He said that's a laser light beam. It's the only thing that could be. And he said he knows of nothing that could have that large of a laser light
So it's
shaft.
literally coming. A lot of it's come from up the sky.
Yeah, Lawnmower. Oh yeah, they come
So
in handy.
have you ever? I mean, have you seen anything like in the sky, like a ship or anything like that? Or is it is all? I know they're all cloaked. I mean, I know that things are can do that. We
Well,
see stuff here on our property a lot. My husband does, so I understand.
well, Linda and we saw an orb come across my field, and we watched it come across the field to about 50 feet of us. And we had another gentleman with us, and he had a torch or a flashlight or a beam, that plugged into the car, and he shined it on this. It was at night, and we said, "Look, here comes this orb across the field," and it came all the way across my field, probably approximately half mile, within 50 feet of the car. Then he shined the torch light, the beam light or floodlight on it, and it just went crinkle, and it disappeared, just was gone. So that was with the naked eye. uh, i
Wow.
have I have many orbs with nighttime vision cameras, infrared cameras. I have hundreds of videos of orbs moving and pulsating and interacting with each other, and um, that a lot of those are with what night vision or infrared cameras.
Wow. So when you look back at what's happened there, um, do you ever want to like leave? I mean, do you ever want to, you still like feel like you're drawn to know what the truth is or what more answers are?
Well, I'm drawn to collecting data and repeatable experiments. That's the scientific approach. I want to keep repeating experiments, repeatable experiments, and keep collecting data. That's right now I'm in you know that stage. Certainly analyzing the data the best of my ability as I'm going along. Try to get individuals, to take observe my data has been very difficult. I've called universities. I talked to quantum physicists at universities, and they say, "Well, Lee, you do not have an infrared orb out in your field." I go, "Well, would you look at the video I have right here, right here, right here? I'll show you a video on my phone." And no, I wouldn't look at it. I said, "Why wouldn't you look at it?" Because he said, "Well, then I'd have to prove that your camera is faulty." So how closed-minded? Because I was like that. I was that closed-minded too. And I mean, I was a science major. I was, math, computer science, chemistry. And he wouldn't even look at it because he said then I'd have to spend all my time, proving why your camera's wrong. I said I've had at least 4 cameras, infrared cameras, take pictures of these orbs, moving and interacting with each other and pulsating light within the sphere. And he goes, no, no, you haven't. So, and another one, I talked to another university, and I talked with the physicist there, and I said, would you care to, that was actually University of Wisconsin. Would you care to come and look at some pictures? He goes, no. He said, I'm working on, this and this project and this project. And he said, I would never get government funding, for that, I would never get a government funding for that project. He said, I have to, I have to get government funding, then produce, and then, then write. If the professors, if they want, move ahead, they really have to do research and then, then get written up in the scientific journals, and that allows them to become, more common or prevalent in their areas. And he said, I could never get any government funding for anything like that. He said, no. So I would not want to look at any of your pictures.
Wow, and that makes sense because the government doesn't want us to know anyway. All this stuff, or you know what I mean. The government's not going to fund that, but that just it's amazing what you've had to go through just to try to share the all the evidence that you have. I mean, we're barely talking about. I remember the one where um, the footprints, like you were following these footprints, right? And then they just stopped. Like,
Oh,
where did
well,
they
yeah,
go?
or they'll just start. Sure, many times. The footprints are another whole interesting thing. Tracks are facts, and I have um, at least 4 or 5 different type of tracks out there that are not deer, not coyote, not bear, not cougar. Of course, we don't have in southern Wisconsin. There is no bear or cougar. One time a bear came through out by Janesville. Well, the whole town of Janesville, everybody was following this bear. I mean, come from northern Wisconsin, got lost or something. But we don't have any wolves, we don't have any bear, we don't have any cougars. So the footprints that should be on my farm should be deer and coyote. But I have these footprints I've seen thousands of times, and they're 3 inches by 3.5 inches, dog canine, because you can see the the nails on them. You can see the nails. And of course, with the feline, they retract their nails in, well, except for the cheetah. Their nails are out because they're running 70 miles an hour. But so they are canid tracks. But there's 5 toes on these tracks, and there's a center pad and there's a heel pad. So it's a 5-toed, 7-pad track, which I've seen hundreds, thousands of times. And people come and I'll invite people. They want to see the tracks, and and I'll find the tracks. Commonly, I'd say 90% of the time, if I go look for these tracks in my hayfield and also in the neighbor's field, I'll find these 5-toed, 7-pad tracks, and they don't exist in nature. There's no existence of ever been a 5-toed, 7-pad canid track. And yet I have pictures of it. I have castings of it, and you know, thousands of times.
Has there been any it's always interesting, but there's never really, they're not really hurting anybody. I mean, they're there, but it's not like people are being attacked. So I always think that's very interesting, that, and it just kind of shows how they're just, they can almost disappear, like you're saying, like they really can just kind of come and go, with all the evidence that you have. I mean, where can a footprint just disappear at?
Oh,
I was listening to the 411 the other day with David Pallade. Pallade.
Pilatus.
Yeah, I just love him.
Pilatus.
I
Hmm.
love his what he's doing. And then uh, he was saying how, like, this one lady walked out of her house. It was just 1,000 feet from her house, and they could see all the footprints of her, and it just stopped. And there was no footprints around her, and there was no footprints other than her footprints. So, like, how do you explain that except just disappearing? So that's what it reminds me of with what you found here.
Oh, I've seen. I mean, footprints start. You know, in 48 feet from any type of tree or anything that, so it couldn't jump out of the tree and land and walk away in the snow, or just I'd be tracking it number of times and the footprints would just end. Yes, and now your explanation has to be either they're beamed up or they are able to move into another universe or move away from being a physical being in
Yeah.
this universe. They're not a physical being any longer because they're not leaving tracks. I mean, the tracks will just go along and just stop and
Mm.
and in snow, and there's no more tracks. Well, that those tracks are facts. But what was making those tracks, what was exhibiting those tracks, had to either move into another universe, or could an alien ship? I mean, could they be just beamed up? Possibly, but it's they're no longer in this 3D uh, universe that you and I are living in at this moment. They're not there anymore.
Yeah. Well, I love that you said that. That was actually, I can't remember the name of the scientist a long time ago. You said that, Einstein.
Einstein.
Einstein already proved this. So the fact that there are people out here that just don't even want to listen, the scientists of today don't want to listen, is, I just don't understand that, when it's already proven that it can be. And
Well,
you watch YouTube and it says right there's all these universes now. They mathematically they found them, scientifically they
oh,
found them,
not scientifically, mathematically.
mathematically.
Right. Mathematics has proven that there's multi-universes. Now, there's no way that we have presently, no no instruments or anything presently that can detect any other universes. Just like there were no instruments that could detect a black hole um, until for 50 years before an instrument was developed that could detect a black hole. They were just simply not. There was no way that we had to to look for one. We couldn't. We didn't have any method. There is some movement, small movement of trying of getting some grants. Of course, again, your university professors. And my one brother was one of the top biochemists in the world, and he lived on grants from the government or from private enterprise. But there is some movement to try and develop an instrument that can detect other universes, but it's very, very much in its infancy.
I love that you're up, and that just the fact that you have the scientific background and the math background, teaching background, you really stay. It sounds like you stay up to date on all of this. So that, I mean, to me, that's just great what you're doing. I think what you're doing is phenomenal. I mean, I really do.
Well, thank you.
I just when you're in the town, when you're around town and, you know, doing your town, being in town, is there any talk? Like, do they still, they know that you do a lot of talking about things whenever, not all, probably not every day, but they know that you're doing this. Are there other people in the town that are doing this, or that continue it?
No,
No.
no. I mean, I had the property 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. Nobody said anything to me about a beast of Bray Road or a werewolf, even though I talked with people. The gentleman I was farming at my mother's property here in Illinois, and she had 20 acres, and I was farming that for to bale hay for the horse academy that we had in for the borders. And I didn't move my operation to Elkhorn, Wisconsin until 2011. And but I had a neighbor who was share farming with me. He would cut it, bale it, and he'd get half, and I'd get half. Well, he saw it on Bray Road in 1999 eating a raccoon. Well, I talked with him all the time. He never told me anything about the beast of Bray Road. No, they won't talk about it. I offered one guy's story is so phenomenal. Um, I mean, he's my neighbor. He's about a mile down the road. I mean, it is an amazing story. I offered him $150. My brother and I offered him $150 if we could videotape him, and he said, "Well, yeah, I'll do that." And then when he was supposed to show up to videotape, we were ready, and it was like a half hour, and I called him and I said, we're ready to videotape. Are you coming? And he goes, well, I had to fix the brakes on this truck, and he has a landscape. I said, you're not coming, are you? He goes, no, no, no. So no people,
Yeah.
um, but there is more people talking about it, and I think hopefully through my efforts and through your efforts and through the efforts of individuals who will present themselves and will accept the challenge and the ridicule. That's what they're afraid of. I mean,
Mhm.
the one guy who has a tremendous story. He said, I talked with him. He told me the story. He said, I made fun of so and so. I made fun of so and so. I made fun of so and so. He said, I don't want to see this thing. I didn't want to see it, but he did. So that's still very present there, very present. But it's breaking up there a little bit. There are some inroads into people that will tell their story and as per on some of the shows like the 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 Bray Road B Small Town Monsters.
Yeah.
They got some people to talk, and the one person they got to talk, which was amazing, was the county official who Linda Godfrey talked with, and he had
Oh,
a,
that
a
story was, oh my God. Yeah.
yeah, he had the manila folder that had werewolf on it. And for, like I say, for a county official to have a werewolf folder and have information in there about the people that saw it on Bray Road, I mean, that they got him to talk, and I don't know how they did that, but that's
I,
a phenomenal.
Linda was just, she was just so phenomenal about that. I mean, it seemed to me on anything I've watched with her. But I love that when she said, yeah, when you have a vanilla envelope that has the word werewolf on it, that there's a story there or something. She had some cute line in that
That
show.
she did. That she said, yeah. Well, rest in peace. She was to my farm many times and had
Mhm.
many experiences at my farm. Well, the book Monsters Among Us by Linda Godfrey. I'm actually 3 chapters in that book, but they wouldn't use my name. My name in that book is Roy Smith. So that's a book she wrote, and about 3 chapters about the dogman of the Beast of Bray Road. I mean, no, there's other ones. She's got stories in there about Michigan and other places too.
I gotta
But
get that book. I didn't realize that. I'll get that.
Monsters Among Us by Linda Godfrey, and anything in there that refers to Roy Smith is by Farm. And
Wow.
I
I wonder
told him they could use my
why
name,
wouldn't
but
did you not want to have your name out at that time, or they just?
no, no. Linda said, "What name do you want to use?" I said, "Well, my name's Lee Hampel, you know." And she said the publisher's lawyers will not let me use anybody's name in the book. So
Oh,
all the names in that book are fictitious names.
wow.
And I said, "Well, okay, Roy Smith." She said, "Okay." So for whatever reason, I don't know, the lawyers felt there would be could be repercussions from individuals who found my name Lee Ample and came and bothered me or something. But I don't know. That's it's a good book. She was an excellent literary writer. Very good.
She was, and
Hmm.
I know I was going to tell you that one of my friends in here in Tucson ended up her family's in Wisconsin. I don't know the town. I can't remember the town, but she's invited me to come there anytime, and she said she would. She's there and here in Tucson too, so she's one of the snowbirds. But
Okay.
she said she would drive me personally down to your property if
Whoa,
I went and saw her in Wisconsin.
you
And
come
I'd
to my
film.
property and you will
I
be.
would film. I could film. I would love as one of. I would love to do that, like where we could film what's going on, and I would still love to do that. That would be a phenomenal.
Oh,
I would be scared though, actually. But you're not scared, are you? On
oh
when you
yeah. Oh
oh
yeah.
you
Oh.
are? Okay.
Oh, if I go out by myself, I don't take a gun. I take a flash gun. It's one that's been designed. It was used in Marine for warnings or for to get attention if you were your boat was sinking
Yeah.
and you could fire
Okay.
and I take that with me. Everybody there has precautions that they do. The one neighbor, she walked on my property. She asked when I bought it if her and her dog they'd always walked it before when the previous family had it, and I said yeah sure go ahead. Of course I didn't know there was a beast out there or anything, but so her and her dog they would walk my property and go for a morning walk or afternoon walk or whatever, and then I got some pictures of on my game camera. I think 2016, and nobody knew I had any game camera, any cameras out. For they still don't know where they're at. I move them all the time. And so 2016, I got a picture of it about a quarter mile away, and it's huge. I go, it's by a tree that's 14 feet tall, and it's half as tall as a tree. So I walked over to her house and I told her, I said, you know, I, I've had cameras out for the last 3 years at that time, and I have a picture of the Beast of Bray Road, and he's back on my hayfield. And I just want to let when you walk out there that this, he's there, he's out there. She goes, oh, I know, I know. If the dog doesn't go, we don't go. I said, so what? How do you tell if the dog won't go? She goes, oh, he just go out on the deck, and if he looks around and comes back to the door, then we don't go for the walk. So they live with it. I mean, the dog was the detection of when the beast was out there. And if I go out there in snow and there's a lot of coyote and deer tracks, there won't be any beast tracks. The beast tracks are very distinguishable. They're straight line. There's 2 to 4 foot steps. And if I go out there and I find the beast tracks, 2 to 4 foot steps, straight line, there won't be any coyote or deer tracks.
I had to turn my volume off because there's people in the house, and I just didn't want it to disturb what you're saying.
Okay.
But I just find that and I think that animals are going to sense it, so that woman, it's amazing that she
Yeah.
knows that. Well, it's amazing that you have a picture of that. So I would love to see that. Like
Oh yeah,
I don't think I saw that, but I mean, like
no, no,
he's
you
like,
haven't
oh
seen.
yeah, we know it's out there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, her mom, she lived on the property. This lady did, and her mom is who I bought the property from, and
Oh,
she lived. The property was 80 acres. The buildings was 10 acres, and the family kept retained those buildings. I bought 35 and another 35 to make up the 80 acres. Well, when I told the daughter, that I had this picture of the beast out there and stuff, and she said, "Why don't go? If the dog doesn't go." Well, the next day, the mother came over on her lawnmower, and she came in my barn. I was working on something, and she came in my barn with her riding lawnmower, and she goes, "Lee," she goes, "I just want to tell you." Now she had lived there for about 40 years. Her and her husband had purchased the property and had farmed it. She said, "If you go out there at night, be careful." And then she turned her lawnmower around and she went back to her house. I go, wait, what's the rest of the story? You're telling me if I go out at night to be careful? You sold me the property, and, and nobody told me anything about it. And she's telling me if you go out at night, Lee, be careful. So they had many experiences with it, but they won't talk about it.
wow, 40 years. So this we're talking like 40 years by that time, and then
Mm-hmm.
you've been there all
She,
this time. Wow, is
yeah, I
she
mean,
still there? That lady, is she
she
still alive?
passed. She passed away uh, just before COVID, 2020.
Ah,
Right. Her husband had passed away like 2016. And they had, when they got married, they bought the 80 acres and that was their farm. And they had a dairy farm there for, till 2007 when they sold it.
well, it's just amazing. And so the Beast of Bray Road, that's only one show that talks about the Bray Road, and there's only one show that that you've talked on, but you've talked on so many different shows, and I know in that Expedition X we've talked about this, so I know that that was something. He came out and analyzed everything, but you weren't too happy with that one, right? Or something was it
Well,
didn't.
no, no. I mean, the first show, they came to my farm and I showed them pictures and they found the 5-toed 7-pad track.
So
Um,
okay.
and they found that just off of my property, right in the neighbor's property. They saw a track line. They showed that on the show. Um, then they also saw a red-eyed figure in the field behind my farm, which is a quarter mile away. And they also had a fleur of a figure going through the woods, which is right near my property, right next to my property, and walking on 2 legs. Now that was all in the first episode with Josh Gates, which
Oh,
was a good episode. Then they went to some lake, which is the lake they went to is by Whitewater. That's about 25 miles away. Rode around in some airboats and found a deer that had been eaten by, they said wolves, but I don't know. There's no wolves there. I think by coyotes. And then he came back and came to the conclusion that it was just a wolf that was the Beast of Bray Road, based on not even everything he found in the second episode was nowhere near Bray Road. It was up by Whitewater. There's no lakes on Bray Road, Lake Geneva, but that's
oh yeah, I knew
10
there
miles
was
away.
something about it
And
that went.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
well, and
ridiculous.
he disregarded all the evidence that they found in the first episode, with the 5-toe track, with the red eyes, and all my evidence, which they have on there, pictures of the tracks I've seen many times. They disregarded all that, and he said he thinks it's a wolf. Well, it's, there are no wolves there, and a wolf can't be 7 feet tall, walking on 2 legs. I showed
Yeah.
him pictures in snow. It's absolute proof that it's bipedal. So he disregarded all that. And I
Mm.
would, after watching the first episode of The Beast of Bray Road, I was, well, it's called Chasing Skinwalkers. I think American Skinwalkers.
Mm.
Um, But then the second one, it just went off the rails. I felt it didn't explain it. It took disregarded what was data that he had collected.
Yeah.
And now
Uh,
Josh Gate, he was fine to work with. Normally I with when you're working with the Travel Channel, or there's been a lot of documentaries. If you look on Facebook, or I'm sorry, on YouTube, the Bray Road Beast Alive and Well is a documentary from that's a very good show. It's 25 minutes long.
okay.
The Beast of Bray Road Alive and Well, and that was by Eric Mintel from Buck County, from Pennsylvania. And there's a lot of good documentaries that are on YouTube, and I've been probably 30 podcasts now. See, I didn't start doing these until about 4 years ago because I
Mm,
was collecting data. Then I said, okay, I need to talk to people and get the information out. And I think it's been very beneficial that I have done this. So
well, I have a really great guy at the UK that I don't think I probably didn't know him at the time when I first interviewed you. He interviews a lot of great people, and he's really wonderful. And I'm going to send him your information because I know that he would love to talk to you, and he has a good audience. And I think that would be really good. His name's Robert Brown.
okay,
So
sure.
yeah, so I'll connect you on that one. And there's a couple other people that I know now that I think would be interested in talking with you too, you know. And again, I hope that we've come to the end of the hour. So I hope that I can have you come back on again and maybe make sure brother Joshua is on with us because I know he would love to talk to you. And you can share some more because I think it's important. It's like my situation here with so I did that documentary but just for me to get that done and get the story and to stay with it and have that get my story, you know, to what happened here, it was so important to me. And to me it's
Oh
ongoing.
yeah. Hmm.
We still, you know, are aware of what's happening here, and I'm still, so I understand what you are going through and how you feel. I really do. It's important that, but not only for you, but for, I don't know, it's just for everybody to understand what is happening. For those of us that want to know, we want to
Hmm.
know explaining the unexplained. If you're living in it, you know, every day that you go to that farm or every time you're there, you have to be, you know, you like you have to be careful. So it's like there's something that it's always present, you know.
No, you get the feeling it's watching you, or I mean, I'll put up a camera, and 5 minutes later, the camera will be turned or twisted. So he
Yeah.
was right there when I put the camera up, and then the camera will take a picture of me walking away and leaving, and 5 minutes later, the camera's twisted. Well, there's nobody out there with me, so he was right behind my truck or something, and
And there's
you know.
definitely something about that land. There's definitely something there, you know. Really, there is. There's this there with you.
There, there,
Are you
there,
there now? Are you there now?
no, I'm in Illinois. I live in Illinois. I
Yeah.
I have a pole barn there, and our farm here in Illinois. We have my wife and I. We have now we only have 5 horses and cows and sheep and goats, and more of a hobby farm. In 2010, we had to disband the riding academy and the boarding because it just terminated. I mean, we went from 50 riders to 5 riders, and we
Wow.
couldn't keep 20 horses, available when we only had 5 riders. So then we closed up the riding academy in 2010, and the boarding. We had 20 boarders, and now we have sheep and goats and chickens and ducks and cows and horses, just a couple horses. So
Yeah.
so
What's
that this is
for it?
where I live in Illinois,
Okay.
and I bought that property just so we could have hay, because hay is very expensive.
Yeah.
And I felt that if we bought the land is going to gain value also. Plus, we would make the hay for, at that time, 2007, for our for our riding academy and our boarders.
Right.
And so it's worked out well. All this time we're still making hay there, and it's still being used on our farm here in Illinois.
You're awesome. And
Well,
you.
thank you. You too. I enjoy talking with you. You're very pleasant, and I like talking
Oh,
with you. You're
oh, that's.
knowledgeable, very knowledgeable.
Oh, good. Hear that, dear?
Yeah, and and and
Like,
tell him you you don't interrupt. Some of the podcasters, they interrupt or whatever. So you're very patient. You're a very good interviewer. Very good.
oh, thank you. I got myself blushing here. Thank you. I appreciate it. I think we better say goodnight, and I really appreciate it. And so I will send this out tomorrow, tonight, and whatever, and share this and share your story as much as I can, and get you
Sure, well,
connected with some of these other amazing people I've met.
sure. I'd love to talk with them. Sure.
Awesome. Thank you, Lee, so much.
Oh
Thank you
no,
for being on with me.
thank you for having me. Very enjoyable. Thank you for having me. You take
Good.
care.
Thank
All right.
you.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Good night. Yeah. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Hopefully Stan